I'm a little nervous. Everybody's on Hawaiian time right now, and I have a bunch of people who are supposed to show up earlier. They'll probably show up as soon as I start broadcasting, so yeah, that's how it works. That's why I like doing this stuff live. Let's see what we got here. Gotta fix this. One of the cameras isn't quite right. Somebody unplugged the cable. Who's that? Oh, I have teachers here. Okay. Okay, we'll be starting in just a second here. Let me go flip my light on. Okay, they're probably canceling the thing because it just keeps raining off and on. But Elena, she wants to have some, like we used to do. If you want to have a couple people in here, that's cool. You guys can still play or whatever. Just had a show canceled from rain, so we'll see what happens. All right. Welcome to Evidence Based Audio number 184. And this is Barbie's Dream DAW. Yeah, I didn't make the title, so don't come after me. So let's take a look here. I just noticed that StewMac has what used to look like, if you guys are familiar with fret rockers, where you use this triangle-shaped piece of metal to kind of tell. You use it across 3 frets at a time, so you can see if there's a high or a low fret someplace. You use it to, you'll hear it rocking back and forth if it's if the fret's a little bit high, or if one of the outside frets is low. They've made something. This is pretty ingenious, I think. Well, I mean, who knows how it's going to work. And I got to say that as much of a resource as StewMac is, they're not always really on it. I especially hated the way they did the Floyd Rose stuff, their Golden Age tremolo, whatever. I would have liked to see a lot more information. I'd love to see more information from them about existing Floyd Roses. But anyway, let me show this thing if you're watching. This is pretty cool. Okay, this is it's a fret rocker, but in the middle of it, it's got looks like their diamond grit sander, the same as if you have one of their diamond leveling tools or one of their diamond fret files. So it's $126. It sounds a little bit steep, but all this diamond stuff is. But let me so it's called the StewMac Fret Kisser. It says the StewMac Fret Kisser spot levels high frets in an instant, allowing you to do accurate and cost-effective fretwork quickly, and you don't even need to remove the strings. Spot leveling is difficult, especially when you need to level just one fret and avoid the frets around it. Now you can pinpoint the one that's high and level it with no danger of affecting the other frets. There is no other tool on the market that can level just one fret as precisely and quickly as the Fret Kisser. We started with our fret rocker, which locates high frets easily, made it thicker and heavier, and added 300 grit diamond abrasive to the middle of each section. So this looks really good, and I'm hoping, not that I want anybody's intellectual property taken, but I'm kind of hoping that we see some of the Me Too's on the market pretty soon with something like this. This looks awesome. I really think I'm still very unhappy with fret crowning files. I'm going to give the Z file a chance. I haven't got one of those yet, but I think this is I think this should level it pretty well. I mean, this is for what you really use these things for. You'd have to still be careful because there's some pretty bad damage you could do on this, but at the same time, this is really should be a really good idea. Anyway, should be a very good product. $126. I'm not going to be buying one anytime soon, I don't think, even though, man, I'm so close to just getting a couple fret rockers and sticking some sandpaper in the middle of it, But it's got to be the same level as the rest of the stuff, or it's just not going to work. It's really interesting when you zoom in on here and see just the difference in the grit. It's not that much between the between the smooth part and the sandpaper part. And I'm a little bit worried that you're going to gouge up your frets with the fret rocker instead, but I think you'd be okay. I think, I'm actually thinking that I might think of a way to improve this actually. So we'll look at this later. It's a cool product. I want to keep an eye on it. Maybe I'll order one, see how it is. But yeah, you're probably already used to the fret rockers. And at least in this case, there are, to me, way better ones on Amazon for cheaper than the StewMac one. Ones that last a lot longer, at least than my original one that I got from StewMac anyway. So next thing is Reaper version 6.67, Barbie's Dream DAW. You know, isn't that crazy? We're just barely past 6.66, you know? Reaper used to update a couple times a day back in the day, if you guys remember the very early original days, but a little bit slower now. Still nowhere near as slow as the rest of the DAWs out there. Let's see. Add actions to insert retroactively recorded MIDI. That sounds very interesting. Fix incorrect ordering of certain notes in MIDI. Get recent input event. It's like a lot of little bug fixes, which is normal. Project Bay. Add option to disable grouping similar effects in effects tab. Interesting. Default new folders to expanded. Preserve selection when changing effects online. Bypass presets. VST, fix VST2 to VST3 migration state conversion. Migration state mapping for plugins with non-alphanumeric characters in their file names or in their names. Correct parameter changes. Let's see, is there anything I really care about? Region render matrix. Wow, in Windows it says fix shortcut creation for DX plugins. Now, all right, is anybody out there actually still using DirectX plugins? I would still love to have Beat Model Ampli. I don't know what plugin to replace that with for like the Sunday distorted telephone vocals and stuff. That thing was awesome for that. Glue, ensure partake effects are reinitialized prior to glue. Interesting. It says file names. Allow more than 10,000 similarly named file names to be generated. I wonder what that's for, like if you're making some kind of batch converter or something. Custom action editor. Allow longer action names to display when window is resized large. Thank you. Add action to build selected item peaks if necessary. Respect preferences to trim media behind items or auto crossfade when running. Action move to media source preferred position. So that one, you might be using that thing when you're doing importing files and you just want it to move to where the project timestamp is. Linux, spectral edits. All right, I'm not sure that I see too much in here. Okay, let me go on here. All right. I'm having we talk about Google a lot on here, and you know, somebody was having a lot of trouble figuring something out. Really, it's about minus 18 peaks. We could talk about that for a second, but I'm saying I'm not surprised that Google wasn't much help. Google is nearly completely useless now, even for finding extremely basic things about wiring or car repair or even definitions that used to be so easy to Google before 2013. Google is a nightmare now. What do you get? You get a bunch of ads and stuff. And, you know, a couple people were saying, yeah, you know, it's, yeah, I'm having trouble with Google too. Now Miroslav says, yeah, you talk about Google. And I say that even as a free speech zealot, when I'm modding a forum, like I am a moderator on some forums, believe it or not, which is why, especially on this, the Gear Page forum, I get upset that these guys are constantly muting me or whatever, temp banning me and stuff. But I say, even as a free speech zealot on forums that I mod, I will routinely delete and warn people when I see, let me Google that for you, or Google is your friend answers in threads to people's questions. It's sad how crappy Google has become for this. And this is true. we've said it so many times, like, do not let me Google that for you on people. I mean, they've already probably checked all the search engines and stuff. I mean, you know, if it's really obvious that the guy's just being a chode, you know, that's something else. But Google is worthless now. So don't just Google is your friend or any of these crap people say. And he's asking, so when you say how bad Google has become, are you talking just the fact that people lean heavily on it for their knowledge, or do you mean that Google simply provides poor results due to poor search engine control? And I say, yeah, it's the poor search engine control. That's my issue. And I say calling it poor search engine control would be too charitable. The answers are now ranked to the first 5 pages based on ad money and politics. But yeah, the answers it returns are what I object to. And somebody sends me some Google advanced tips, you know, like the ones we used to use by wrapping quotes around things. It doesn't work anymore. It's not 2005. And so I had to say it, you know, you just did the equivalent of let me Google that for you. Is this something people didn't know by 2005? It no longer works. Try it with any reasonable subject. Now, I did mention Google Scholar, which can be amazing. Just that it doesn't crawl very much stuff that we're talking about here. And, you know, the guy tries to double down. He says, maybe I should hide his face. He's not really a mean person or anything, but I just don't like this kind of attitude. Says, Google works fine. I teach people to do this for a living. I believe that you teach people for a living. I don't believe that you are teaching people to get good Google results, because it just doesn't return those results. It's not like I'm making this up. I'm not the one who normally says this. I've given up on Google. I watch other people try, and every once in a while I got to try and find something. But he says, this is current information provided for academics and research level students at the university I work at. Well, you know, I have a lot of trouble with universities today. I know you know how pro-education I am, but I'm not pro-indoctrination. I sit with medical, engineering, science students, and researchers all day long and teach them this stuff. The short story is, if you don't like the answer you're getting, you need to modify the way you asking the question. No. Advanced search does not work in Google anymore. And I mean, technically it works, but it's not going to return you any results that are any good. And you guys know this. I don't have to tell you. Have you used Google Advanced? Yes, we have. Yes, after 2005, no. You can limit to domain and structure the query in a more granular way. Yes, but that doesn't matter anymore, especially if you don't know which domain you're looking for. Google Scholar also opens up more options. Now, that's true. Google Scholar is pretty awesome, actually, especially if you're looking for peer-reviewed stuff. But like I say, they only crawl the tiniest bit of the web. It's not much of it. He sends me some crazy Terminator picture or something. I'm like, fine. So I said, you know, you're poisoning the well. You're not refuting in any way anything I said. And with the asking the question, yes, this worked in 2005, like I said. And asking about Google Advanced, I said, yes, like I said, this worked in 2005, not now. And Google Scholar opens up more options. I said, yes, but it doesn't crawl even 1% of what we're discussing here. Then he's talking about other things I could search as if I didn't know. And I said, we're talking about Google for. That was the claim I made. So anyway, guys, we might want to talk about this just a little bit. So let me tell you the name of this thread. It says, I don't get the minus 18 dB target on the recording tracks. And he says, I'm reading that we are not to use 100% of the dynamic range when recording a track. It's because most VSTs are designed to work at minus 18 dB. Ha ha ha, who cares? As long as I like what I'm hearing, I can always reduce the signal. So what's the big deal about recording at minus 18 dB? And the big deal is that minus 18, let's just say, let's say your converter's calibrated to minus 18 equals 0 VU equals plus 4 dBu. That means that the nominal level of a professional piece of gear, something that operates as a plus 4 operating level, that's where its 0 is on its VU meter. So that's pretty damn loud already, right? That's very, very loud, okay? But that's unity gain. That's your nominal operating level. And, you know, you're going to go a little bit above that, but you guys know that peaks are going to be a lot higher than your RMS level. So you need some headroom. I don't know about 18 decibels, but you need a lot. And I think RME defaults to minus 15 equals 0, which may be a little bit more sensible, but I mean, minus 18 is fine. There's a lot of issues involved here, and I'll read mine. So I said the actual analog side of this is a very good reason for keeping your level sane. Remember that what that minus 15 or minus 18 or whatever means. For instance, in RME, minus 15 dB full scale represents 0 VU, which represents plus 4 dBu. 0 VU is a lot to ask for prosumer devices. That's like your normal minus 10 devices. If you don't know, the operating level minus 10, so like your consumer level gear. Most of our the audio gear that we'd buy that's not specifically meant for professional recording studios back in the day, it was at minus 4. Some things are plus 4. I mean, it was minus 10. Some things are plus 4 now. But in general, this stuff wasn't made to get all that high. In that, I think it comes out to it's really only 12 decibels less than plus 4, even though it sounds like it'd be 14. But I think it's minus 12. But still yet, you're talking about taking some cheap, and I know you don't, the stupid saying you get what you pay for. It's not true. We talk about that all the time on the show, but we are talking about, things where money actually matters, that like how much voltage you can get in and out of these things. You're asking this cheap device that probably is struggling to get to minus 10. You're asking that to go 12 decibels higher and get to 0. And then in order to get to 0 from minus 18, you're asking it to go another 18 decibels. So that's 12 plus 18. What is that? It's like 30 decibels above where that thing's supposed to run. Anyway, so I'll read this again. 0 VU is a lot to ask for prosumer devices. There's a reason we have minus 10 dBV and plus 4 dBu level standards. It takes a different grade of electronics to happily sit at plus 4. Try feeding a plus 4 signal at unity gain to an older small format mixing console and see what happens, for instance, or an effects unit or a headphone amp. It was really straining at the edges of credulity to get a 5-volt powered device to plus 4 dBu. They generally worked okay at minus 10, generally. Now, it's really a 12 decibel difference, not a 14 decibel difference, if I remember right, between minus 10 and plus 4. But imagine, not only are you asking this device to go 12 decibels above its operating level and still expecting it to sound okay, no, you're going to add another 15 to 18 to that, like 27 decibels above some cheap device's operating range. So that's the issue with recording so loud on these converters. If your gear is okay with it, and it's not distorting, it's not causing a lot of problems to go that high, I'm sure you're fine. I tend to record a lot hotter than minus 18, but I have gear that's already plus 4. It's not that big of a deal, but you're not going to hurt anything recording that low. There's a lot more discussion about digital audio in here, and I don't want to get too far into that. But if you guys have questions, let me have them, and we'll talk about it. Now, I meant to get a speaker expert on for this week, and I couldn't. So I'm we're doing so much with impulses and modeling and everything nowadays. So I'm having some cabinets built that are based on Celestion's designs for their F12X200. It's right here. That you can actually get this PDF for free. It says build this F12X200 1x12 cabinet design, and it's something that Celestion made available on PDF so that you can build your own cabinet that's supposed to work with their version of the full range flat response speaker. They call it full range guitar response or something like that. The F12X200, and I think there's another one. I think it fits the same cabinet. I'm having a friend build this cabinet right now, but I have tried these speakers in several combo amps, open back, close back, and no matter what I put it in, it sounds pretty damn good, honestly. But Celestion has a speaker cabinet design that they say is specifically built for this thing. So I can't wait to hear what it is. This show may become interrupted because somebody's actually supposed to drop this off for me anytime today. So we'll see if this thing actually shows up. But this is what I'm building. So I don't understand. I don't understand small, feel, whatever, all these parameters, TS parameters. I barely understand speakers, believe it or not. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago too. But I was linked by Timothy Gray and a couple other people. It's a DIY audio and video page that has a tutorial design build speaker box. It's called Designing and Building a Speaker Box Example. And there's all kinds of guides here that tell you about how to build speakers, why porting. Like, I didn't understand porting. I never understood it. I still barely understand it. It seems to me that a port is like having a second speaker in your setup, and just you can add a lot more bass that way. Sounds like a scary, phasey thing to me, but these cabinets I'm having built are ported. We'll see how that goes. But these pages really tell you a lot about how to do this. And if you want to see, Celestian's got that PDF. One thing that was pretty interesting to me was this question: should I front or rear mount a speaker onto the cabinet baffle? The baffle's the front panel of a speaker cabinet, the one the actual speaker element sits on. And they have a graph here, and they're pretty close together, but it says, believe it or not, front or rear mounting a speaker on the cabinet baffle can make a difference to your tone. There's a lively debate surrounding how big of a difference this actually makes, and the amount can vary depending on whether the cab has an open or closed back, as well as the thickness of the baffle itself. We can see from this from the frequency response measurement shown. The blue curve shows the response to the speaker mounted at the rear of the baffle, and the red curve shows front mounting. The difference is noticeable. And there seemed to be maybe a 3 or 4 decibel swing in a couple areas, around 3K, I think. And then something around 1K starting, it's actually starting pretty low, like at 250 hertz, all the way up to somewhere near 1K. And so that's interesting. It says, tonally front-mounted speakers will exhibit greater clarity and sound a little more open and neutral, attributes that are particularly beneficial for clean tunes. For the rear-mounted speaker, the baffle creates a subtle horn effect that boosts the lower mids while making the speaker sound darker off-axis. Additionally, the acoustic mass of the air cavity shifts the overall tonal balance for further perceived mid-range boost. This could be beneficial if you need to beef up high gain. In which way do you do that? When you put it inside, it gives you a mid-range boost, or you pull it out? I'm not sure. Anyway, that's how much these little things matter to speakers. So it's not a huge difference, but it's there. And one of the things we're talking about here is somebody's making their own ISO cab. We had 2 of these actually at Pipeline Audio. There's these giant, I call them amp coffins. There were these giant boxes that you could stick 4x12 speaker cabinets in and record it. So they were in isolation. And if you've ever made these things, you kind of know they do have a sound to them. We padded the hell out of ours with fiberglass, but it wasn't until we made it almost the size of a closet that it actually started sounding okay. And I don't know how practical they really are, especially nowadays that we have cabinets. I'll show you an example of one. Is the Rivera Silent Sister 75 watt 1x12 isolation cabinet, and it looks like a giant speaker box. It's got XLR outputs for the mics. It's got 2 mic holders and goosenecks inside, and it's just basically a box that you lock up, that you put a speaker inside and mic it up, and so you can do your miking in isolation. And but we have impulses today, and I'll tell you how I answered this thing. I wasn't too interested in the sounds of these things. I think people had already said what they were, but the guy had made a claim. He said, thing about IRs is that it's a snapshot. I can easily tailor the sound to the song by moving the mic 1/4 inch or changing the mic on-off axis relationship. With IRs, we lack that control. Now, that's really not true. It's true if you only have one IR, I guess. And so I said, the thing about mics is that it's a snapshot. I can easily tailor the sound to the song by picking an IR that was made by moving the mic 1/4 inch or changing the mic on or off axis relationship. With microphones, we lack that ability. Because the thing is, you can just go to your folder and grab another IR that was recorded slightly different. And microphone, you don't really do that. You have to move the microphone, which this isn't bad. But anyway, that's what that's about. And so, of course, the old fight, the impulse response versus real mic cabinet. And to the rescue comes Sonic Drive Studios yet again. And interestingly, there are times where people can tell which one's which, but I don't think anybody says which one's better. Their sound's so close. And I thought there was a lot more multi-band dynamics. And non-linearities in speakers, but it just doesn't seem to be that way. The IRs and the even the massively overdriven speakers seem to sound the same. So Sonic Drive Studios has this. It's called Impulse Response versus Real Mic Cab Blind Test Comparison. Go check it out. And Jay Mitchell was answering in a thread about let's see, from Machinated something. Comparing reactive load impedance curves to a Mesa oversized V30 4x12 and the 1960 TV. So pretty nice. There's a pretty decent thread with some actual pictures of comparing a load box and an actual speaker cabinet. And sadly, some of this stuff got deleted, and I can't respond to it anyway. The TGP mods get a little bit crazy. Okay, so I want to ask about this. 2 seconds. So there's another thread. What is it with bands that don't get out of the way? So this iMiss85 is asking, or saying, so many venues in my area booking multiple bands, and the venues do not have house sound. Ooh. You have a bunch of bands. I hope each band isn't bringing their own PA. Like, that would really be horrible. Like maybe they could all get along. Rarely are we not the closing act, but when we aren't, we pull everything off stage quickly to get out of the way of the closer headliner so they can get up and set up and start on time. Now, if you guys know Tommy Gibbons, they really had a good system for getting in and out, getting the bands on and off the stage quickly, and they were pretty serious about it. If you don't do that, you're hurting the band after you. You're hurting the fans. You're hurting everybody. You want to get on and off as quick as you can, especially getting out. But anyway, so let me see. Oh boy, man, I'm not going to say any names here, but let's see. There's something very similar I've seen. So this guy says, recently, guys are meticulously rolling up cables, breaking down drums, stopping to chat with people, etc., while still on stage. Now, I dealt with bands before where the drummer pulls one cymbal out of the bag, polishes it, then puts it on his drum set. And then, when they're done with the show, they grab the cymbal, polish it, put it away. Grab the next cymbal, polish it, put it away. Meanwhile, everybody's trying to get on and off the stage, and these guys are just standing there like idiots. Let's see. 2 weeks ago, we had an acoustic guy that had something like 7 guitars for an hour set. Had to be 6 to 8 cables, taking his own sweet time. And the dude actually boxed up his sandals. To me, and we do this, haul everything off and out of the way quickly. Get off the stage, organize and pack up your gear from there, and allowing them to work and start on time. Seems like the professional things to do. It's also the nice thing to do. And it's not like we're cocky prima donnas. We always show up early to support the other bands and as complimentary of their set. Anyone else deal with this? I tell you, man, it's such a pain when people behave like this. Just yesterday, we had some people standing in the hallway and nobody could get through. And they just stand there. They know we're there. They know everybody's trying to get through, and they're just standing there. Like, I try to discourage entitled thinking because it just makes everything really hard to deal with. But wow, just get the hell out of the way. This is just like at the skate park, right? Same rules, man. You're gonna drop in, but don't just stand there right in the way so nobody can do anything and just stand there. Get the hell out of the way. And then we had that time a couple of years ago when I was playing with the band I was playing with, which was rare for me to actually be playing with the band. But I watched this guy bring one of those stupid car hood-sized pedal boards up and put every pedal onto it, and then start plugging in all the pedals. And it's just this noisiest, hissiest garbage thing, you know, and it cost two bands their ability to play that night because the guy was taking so long to set up. Unbelievable. Um, yeah, this is pretty much what we see too. Just have some courtesy and some common sense for, you know, especially if you want your band to come back. People remember stuff like this. Just get the hell out of the way. Let's see. So he says, this has to be my ultimate pet peeve, especially when they cut into your playing time. Completely inexcusable amateur hour. When I see people take, so Junior YR Blue says, when I see people taking their sweet time, I ask if they need some help. If they say no, I say, are you sure? The next guy is ready to go. Yeah, good. Like this guy. One time, this guy that had the slot before us kept coming back for multiple encores and was eating into our set time. So I went on stage while he was doing his fifth encore, 10 minutes into our set time, and started setting up my rig while he was performing. He got the message. He was a good guy, just a little oblivious. Looking back on that, it's not my finest hour. Yeah, that's a hard one, man. Like, it's really hard because it's what the audience wants. They want more of this guy, so who knows? Or allegedly. So the next person is asking, did the crowd even want an encore at all? Like, was this dude all that well known? He should have just grabbed his guitar and smashed it. That would have been the ultimate encore. Let's see. Ooh, wow, this guy plays at a skate park. Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of people on here complaining about it and stuff, and then multi-band gigs. Yeah. Anyway, try not to be a pill. That's probably easiest to say. Okay, so and now on the gear page, we talked about these anti-preset Dunning-Krugers before, and how even an amplifier is preset to some degree. Like, you can't, there's a range that amplifier works in. You can't go past it unless you mod it. So it's already preset. And these people who are total anti-presets, they usually don't have much to back up their claims. And a lot of times the stuff they say matters doesn't. I mean, how many of those Jim Lill videos we have to talk about speaker cabinets and guitars and stuff. But so this guy wants a Van Halen tone, and I have to warn him that, chances are you're going to get kicked off the gear page for asking for presets. But there's nothing wrong with presets. So actually, we got a customer complaining to us that we didn't have presets on our compressor. And like, that's the one where I always say, oh man, nobody wants a preset on the compressor, but our compressor can do so much different stuff that at least it could get you in the ballpark of what type of compressor it can be. So I like this question from Major Fuzz. Session 0, what do you need before you hit record? I've always been more interested in studio work than playing live, and over the years I've built a fairly decent home studio. I've worked with several singer-songwriters before, hired to track songs, and occasionally they want me to mix. Recently, I've gotten a new artist that I'm going to be tracking that I'm pretty excited about. They want me to track 2 singles and an EP, so this will be the biggest project I've worked on as the only studio personnel in the past. I've always worked with my best friend as kind of co-producers. He'd handle the mixing and vocal tracking. I handle the mix, instruments and sound design. But we weren't super streamlined in our process. I have templates made up for tracking and for mixing, but that's about the most prep we did. This time, the band I'm working with is really popular in the local scene. I'm hoping if this goes well, it could help me get more work in the future. So I do want the absolute best job I could do. I'm planning on doing a session 0 where they'll come to the studio to dial in their tones, set up the projects in the DAW, and sort of plan out the process. So my question for you guys is, what do you make sure you have prepped before the start of the recording? What's your process when working with the new artists on a new project? This is such excellent stuff. Like I say, the first thing, if the band's got like tempo map stuff, if they ever wrote their song out in Guitar Pro, and if you don't have Guitar Pro, you should probably get it. if they've written their song out in Guitar Pro, just send me the Guitar Pro file, and I'll export it as MP3 or MIDI or whatever. And then any tempo changes you have, it's gonna be mapped on there. That's awesome. Another thing is, I'm always about ergonomics, so my drum set's mic'd up all the time, but I'll still go out there and check the tuning and everything. And I have templates in the other computer where you just hit a button and it gets the whole band. So that's awesome on that end. Check your drums and stuff. For the DAW, for stuff that they're not bringing, that's pretty much it. Make sure you're ready to record. You got headphones where they need to be. There's routing to the headphones where they need to be, and they're able to hear some put in their favorite mix or whatever. So that's really what I think about that one. Let's see, do I have somebody coming in here? Sorry. Now, I don't have too much time today, so I'm just gonna play this one short right here. So this is, I think it was called "Proof That Wood Effects Plugged In Guitar Tone in 56 Seconds." So I'm gonna play this. So you see this guy, he's plugging in a guitar. He's muted his strings with a piece of rag. He's plugged it in, and when he knocks on the guitar, it makes noise. And when he picks his strings, even though the rag's over the pickup, it still makes noise. So he's saying strings vibrating outside the pickup area, still making sound. The one past the nut still makes sound if you chime it over there. So he's pretending that proves that the wood affects the tone. No, it's still picking up. Just because you've muted the strings doesn't mean that they're not moving inside that pickup coil. And when you knock the guitar, try without strings on and see what happens. There's still a chance that you could have the coils bouncing around and make a little bit of noise, but you're hearing the pickup, and the pickup's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Pickups are not microphones. I'll try and get back to a little bit more of this later on in the week, because there are some videos we can talk about more of this tone wood nonsense. But right now I'm absolutely exhausted. I'll probably see you guys more this weekend, but definitely next week.